You see the title for today's show, Adventures in the City of Cursed Sports.
Excellent title, sir.
Yes.
Kaiser came up with that one by himself.
Yes.
That wasn't me,
Adventures in the City. If you are a Charlotte sports team, you probably curse.
It's hard to argue
the Knights are like immune. I mean,
even they're up for sale.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, Charlotte Knights are up for sale. Never mind.
So,
I forgot. Yeah.
No, tell what's gonna happen with that.
Well, not just the Knights, but Truist Field, is also up for sale. So there's no. What's crazy is someone could buy the Knights, and then be like, I don't want to play here, and
move them to Raleigh.
But yeah.
Wouldn't that be?
And now we got a fucking baseball field that can't be expanded to MLB, just in the middle of the city.
The Checkers played a
night game. Yeah, it looked really cool,
and it was sold out. So
yeah, I mean it's
nice to see one Charlotte sports team flourishing, even though they're not pro. But whatever, man.
If you go pro, that's you.
Hey, all bets off when you go pro in this city. Never know what you're gonna get.
I do know what you're gonna get with the Charlotte Hornets.
Misery,
injuries,
misery, sadness,
just despair.
Nothing ever goes right. Is that what you're gonna get?
Charlotte Hornets had a rough week.
We couldn't even get one damn win out of this team last week, man.
Chicago, Sacramento, San Antonio.
I thought we'd get one.
I thought we'd get Chicago, especially after losing to them on the 5th. Now that was a competitive game, and it did go into overtime, but the Hornets just ran out of gummy bear juice.
Yeah.
Too late. Sacramento's a better team. I'm not surprised they won, considering they were mad that they lost to us in Sacramento. And then the San Antonio Spurs, a game that got flexed off of national TV. Thank God.
My blood pressure just spiked.
Now the San Antonio Spurs, I'm not saying that even the Hornets should have won that game, but the final score was 135-99. San Antonio Spurs are not 135 points good. By the way, why wasn't that foul on Brandon Miller flagrant 2?
Because the referees can't give the Hornets that type of.
In my opinion, man, if you injure someone on a flagrant foul, because that was clearly a flagrant 1, right?
It was at least obviously it was at least a 1, yeah.
And they don't return for the game. Guess what?
It should be a 2.
It should be upgraded to a flagrant 2.
But but what's interesting about that call? Look how long it took for them to come to the conclusion that they determined it was a 1.
That was a clear 1.
But listen, the fact that they took so long to try to decide which one it was, that lets me know, man, we really don't want to throw this kid out. Man, we really don't want to eject him. Let's just call it a 1. That's the way I took it.
That's right, yeah. Meanwhile, Brandon Miller
is hurt again, and another injury for the Hornets.
The day LaMelo Ball comes back, we lose Brandon Miller.
Are we surprised? Is that not how it always works for the Hornets? Somebody comes back, somebody else goes out. That's the name of the game with this team.
I didn't even have much interest in the game after Brandon Miller went out. I'll be honest with you.
I don't think the team had much interest in the game either after Brandon Miller went out, honestly.
Fans underestimate the impact, that Brandon Miller has had on this team, not only on both ends of the floor, but as far as just his presence.
Right.
He gave an interview with Ashley Shamadi. I don't know if it was before the game or at the end of what game it was, but she essentially praised him at the very end of the interview. Like, wow, they have some good PR people at Alabama.
Right.
Because he's just right. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gave a really good interview, which, a lot of players on this team, I'm not saying no names, I'll just say they give interesting interviews, but it was a really classy interview.
Right.
Said all the right things, blah, 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 blah. I think Brandon Miller is kind of like the face of this team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when he goes out, there's a big difference in the Charlotte Hornets when he's not playing.
Look, something interesting happened after that game, right? Because we're all watching this game versus the Spurs, and I know how outraged I was. I know how pissed off I was at that game. And I was expecting Clifford to be the same because, I've said this before, man. One thing you're going to get from Clifford is the truth, and you're gonna know exactly how that man feels. If
Yep.
whether you like him or not, I know what you're gonna get from him. And he was a lot more reserved after that game than I thought he would be. And he said something interesting. He said, when Brandon, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know the exact quote, but he mentioned something to the effect of, "Hey, when Brandon Miller went out the game, you could tell all the players were like, man, here we go again." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he also mentioned the disorganization in the offense, which to me, because we're not going to sit here and act like the Hornets were playing that great before Brandon Miller got injured either. Okay, let me make that very clear. All right, but I think between those two things, with LaMelo coming back, and everybody just forgetting how to play team basketball for one night, okay, and Brandon Miller going out, and how deflating that may have been for the players, we got the result we did.
Yeah, and LaMelo really didn't play that well. I mean, box score wise, you'll see he had 28 points.
Empty stats. Yeah.
He shot 16 free throws.
Yeah.
He went 5 for 14. Nobody played well. Miles Bridges went 4 for 13. Terry Rozier 6 for 14. The Hornets shot below 30% from the three. Like, I get that they didn't have a lot off the bench, although my son Bryce McGowan's had him and Nick Smith Jr. Man, James Bouknight is you. What did
he's
gone. He's gone. Trade deadline.
There's no future with Bouknight here, man.
And Cody Martin injured again.
How are you injured when you just came back after a year and a half?
His groins. I thought it was his knee that kept him.
But we thought it was the groin last time too, right?
I don't know.
So can we say it's the knee now again?
Groin injuries take a long time to heal, though. Ask Terry Rozier, who missed a chunk of this season with a groin injury. So, I'm just saying, Bryce McGowan's and Nick Smith Jr. are making their case that they should stick around and be part of this team.
Oh, Nick Smith should definitely be a part of the future of this
Nick
team.
Smith shot 4 for 9. He only 1 for 3, but I mean, coming off the bench, only 25 minutes, that's pretty good. Nobody on the Charlotte Hornets in that game had a positive plus minus.
Yeah.
The closest was JT Thor. We'll just ignore that shit. And Brandon Miller he was only negative 5, but only played 9 minutes.
You can ignore JT Thor.
Yeah, just that don't mean nothing. -1 plus minus. I'm like, yeah. Hornets just played like shit.
It was garbage.
From top to bottom.
It was just just at the beginning of that game, there was no energy, man. They looked lethargic. They looked like they walked on the court and said, you know what, it's just the Spurs. We can beat them. LaMelo's back. We got this.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That game was the worst defender of the three.
No. That game was the worst game of the season. That's a low point. And I know the Philadelphia game happened, but that's Philly. But that's Philly, and that's 5 guys out versus Embiid. That's expected, okay? But a 6-win team coming into that game, they had enough to win that game, man. And it was just pathetic.
Realistically,
effort.
I'm looking at his schedule.
It don't get better because I did the same thing.
So I guess we'll give our weekly predictions at the end of this segment. But
it don't get any better, buddy.
Until the 24th, they play Detroit, and that's not even guaranteed.
I'm not even guaranteeing.
They do play San Antonio again. Maybe I'm hoping they'll have a little bit of pride,
juice, a little bit at home. Yeah.
They're not gonna beat Miami or New Orleans. I mean,
it don't get much better. I'm looking at another possible 10-game losing streak, man.
I'm looking at the damn draft.
I mean, that's where we're at now. Again,
but this draft is not deep like last year's draft. There are no Brandon Millers where the Hornets might be picking up.
So Kaza, you are pretty infamous. You're the trade the pick guy. If there's a year to do it, this is the year. This is definitely the year.
You're right, but here's where it gets iffy. You can't trade for someone on an expiring contract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right.
You got to trade for someone who is going to be invested in this team enough to where you can possibly re-sign them, or they're going to give you enough of a, you know what I'm saying? You'll be good enough next season to where they'll want to stick around.
Yeah, or to keep it simple, someone who is going to be a part of the future.
That's tough. Who is out there?
That was my next statement.
Zach LaVine is the name.
I think I think, and this is just an opinion, no inside information, nothing like that. I just think Zach LaVine is destined to go somewhere like LA.
And here's the thing. So obviously Terry is going to be tied to whatever deal is made. Right. Terry in a first can maybe get you almost whoever you want within reason, right?
Right.
But the question is, like, you don't want to. That's a lot to give up, Terry in a first. I'm not giving up Terry in a first for Zach LaVine. I wouldn't give Terry straight up for Zach LaVine.
Same.
You know, Terry's value is as high as it's ever been at any point in his career.
Right.
And if you want to cash out, you better.
Yeah, this team is in no position to be giving up first
Lauri
round picks.
Markkanen, like, you know, I actually advocated for him a few years ago. Hornets fans said I was silly, but look at him now.
So here's the thing about Lauri Markkanen, man, and you know, I get there's rumors swirling around Lauri Markkanen, but to me, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, you go get Lauri Markkanen, that's the end of the Miles Bridges era here in Charlotte, in my opinion.
So that brings up, someone said we still giving Miles Bridges the max. This is tough.
Let me say something real quick. Let me share the first thing I'm thinking about when that question came up. Hornets are on track to win about 20 games this year. I ain't having two max guys and I'm winning 20 games a season. That doesn't make sense. Hell no.
But one of those max guys
is never plays.
They don't play. If you get LaMelo and Miles the whole season, the Hornets aren't an 8-win team. And so, and there's this. Okay,
it's murky, but go ahead. Yeah.
If you're the Hornets, you've already taken a major PR hit from just even allowing Miles to play.
Right.
You will have taken that PR hit for nothing if you just let him walk.
Right.
You will also take another PR hit if you let him walk
and
he goes somewhere else and he plays well, out. Which he will.
Right.
He's going to go somewhere else. He's going to average 20-something points a game, and they're going to interview him about his time in Charlotte, and he's going to say some slick shit because that's what everyone does when they leave Charlotte.
Right.
And everyone's going to be like, oh, yep, that's the Hornets. Remember Malik Monk?
Yep.
That's what's going to happen if you don't pay Miles Bridges the max. And then you got LaMelo, who's that's his boy.
Yep. He's not going to like that too much.
He's not going to like that. Maybe we paid the wrong guy max.
That's a hot take.
I don't think that's a hot take at all.
I'm not saying
we paid Gordon Hayward $30 million, and people were mad about that because people thought he was injury prone at the time we offered him that. LaMelo Ball was injured. Like, he wasn't just injury prone; he was literally injured when we offered him max.
Can't argue facts.
Maybe we focusing on the wrong guy here.
But because we've said this before, and like I know, could you imagine them not paying LaMelo Ball and the PR and the PR hit they would have took?
You gotta pay. That's what I'm saying. You gotta pay. We're the Charlotte Hornets, and we're just stuck in this terrible place, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing: getting rid of Miles Bridges doesn't necessarily make the team any better, unless you can get Pascal Siakam or Lauri Markkanen, which are not guaranteed things.
Right.
You have a known entity. You have him right there. I think that's where a lot of times teams go wrong in sports.
Right.
You got the guy.
Oh, you mean like a Christian McCaffrey or DJ Moore or somebody like that? Yeah.
Or Deontay Foreman or Steve Wilkes.
Or Hassan Reddick.
Yeah. Any of those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got a guy right there is going to give you at the very least 20 points a game. Right. He's already friends with your franchise player. You've already taken a big PR hit in keeping him.
Right.
Why not keep him? Whereas if you bring in Pascal Siakam, who is not a spring chicken anymore?
Right.
Lauri Markkanen is probably in his prime, but I mean
who's not a great defender, by the way.
But, so what if you get those guys and they don't work out? I think the Hornets need to trade Rozier or Hayward, or let Hayward's contract expire and try and bring him back on a team-friendly deal next season.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, they need to work on their depth. Their bench depth sucks. So you got Nick Smith and you got Bryce and Nick
outside
Richards.
Of that,
those three.
And Nick Richards ain't supposed to be starting. Now you got him starting.
No, that's not even.
So I am glad you said that, man, because as much as the Hornets are struggling at the moment, right? And I always, like, amongst people I talk to, and I mean like friends of ours, right? I'm always the guy that comes across like I'm making excuses, right? Man, stop giving him excuses, man. Mitch Kupchak, blah, 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 blah. One thing you can't argue, Kaiser, and I know you don't disagree with me here. I know you don't. Is Nathan Mensah supposed to be on the basketball court? Seriously. Somebody is 35-year-old Ish Smith supposed to be playing anything over 15 minutes a game? Let me know where I'm wrong. Was JT Thor ever a part of the Hornets' plans for playing anything over 15 minutes a game? If for y'all that's listening that don't understand the point by now, there are too many guys on the Hornets right now that are not even supposed to be getting regular rotation minutes. That are getting regular rotation minutes. This it. Now, you want to make an argument, oh, they're not developing. Why haven't they developed? That's fine. Hey, make the argument. But the reality is they're not supposed to be on the floor as much as they're on the floor right now.
The reason they're not developing is some of those young guys, you don't necessarily develop just from getting playing time. You develop by getting chemistry with the players.
Right.
Which is why a lot of us, they like to send guys to the G League.
But how do you get chemistry when you don't even know who you're playing with night to night?
You just out there.
You just out there.
Yep.
Hey, man. Look, this is one of the few times I'm going to jump way ahead of the season here. There's a guy out of Baylor that I really like. That guy, Jesus Christ, Kaiser. We ain't even at the All-Star break, and I'm talking about draft prospects. But here we are, okay? There's a guy out of Baylor called, I think his name is Jacoby Walker, I believe is his name. Shooting guard out of Baylor. He can shoot the lights out, man. Shooting about 40% from three. Averaging about 17 a game. I think he's a freshman or sophomore, I believe. And to me, he would make sense because if you're going to trade a Rozier, you understand? You want a guy who can get his own shot, who can shoot the ball. I love me some Nick Smith Jr. I think he should be a part of this team. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I believe this Walker kid is just the best prospect. And it makes that much more sense for the Hornets.
I agree, but the Hornets really need to. Their front court is one of their biggest weaknesses.
I agree.
I think they're fine in the guard and maybe even the wing spot, but center is where we struggled for like 7 seasons now, and then we finally got a guy, and he can't even play. And
I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the basis of your statement there. We don't know what's going on with Mark Williams, and we don't know how severe that back injury is. Am I making sense?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like a back injury is very, very serious. As in,
could change the course of your career.
Yeah.
Serious.
How dependable can a player be from a longevity standpoint if he's got back issues at such a young age? Hornets are in a tough place now. You would think that wouldn't be the case, considering it looks like they're going to be a lottery pick team.
Yeah, right.
They've got LaMelo Ball. They've got Brandon Miller.
Right.
You would think they've got a good core, but I don't think a lottery pick solves this team's problems.
I don't either. No, absolutely. I absolutely don't. I don't. Which is why, last season when we were awful, we looked forward to having a top pick because we knew Scoot was out there. We knew Brandon Miller was out there. We knew Victor Wembanyama was out there, right?
Right.
So it was like, okay, consolation prize incoming, right?
Right.
Not so much with this one, bro.
No, yeah. Unless somebody just emerges from the draft pool that ends up being can't miss, which
I don't see it.
I don't see so far.
I don't see it.
But I think the Panthers, Hornets. You know how I am about trading the pick. Trade the pick.
Yeah. I think, like I told you, this is the year to do it, man.
Trade the pick, see if you can get or close to a star player.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get marketing, I think that you would then at that point you would consider letting Miles Bridges walk. But at the same time, none of that, resolves the bench depth issues.
Right.
Maybe. With Bryce McGowan's and Nick Smith Jr. playing so well, maybe you say, okay, these are guys we want to build our bench around, and Nick Richards obviously is going to be a solid backup, but we have no depth. We still don't have a backup point guard.
You stole the words out of my mouth. You know what would really help out the bench is a real backup point guard. Look, man, I love what Ish Smith gave us the first time around he was here. The man's 35 years old, man. It's time, bro. He doesn't need to be out there anymore.
Yes, I agree. He shouldn't be on the team. And I love Ish Smith.
Right. I respect the dude. I respect the hell out of Ish Smith. I really do. But he's not supposed to be out there right now, bro.
I would have rather had Isaiah Thomas.
I would have rather had Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
on supposedly bad knees,
Kemba
but
Walker
whatever.
on crutches. Yeah, Ish Smith averaging about 20 minutes a game. You think Kemba could give you 20 minutes?
Come on now, man.
Kemba not coming back. He lives in Monaco now. He's like,
imagine being a rich man in
Monaco.
Monaco.
He gets paid $5 million a year US. He don't got to pay taxes on that because he lives in Monaco.
Why would you come back to Charlotte?
Why would you come back? He's not even playing that well in the Euro League, but they only play like 25 games a season.
Right.
He comes off the bench, plays 15 minutes a game. He's averaging like 9 points a game. Gets his money.
I would take his 9 points a game here.
I bet his girlfriend banging too.
I bet.
Oh
my. Ooh. Boy.
Kemba
Walker living a life over there.
Mitch, hey, Kemba, what's your click? Hello? Kemba? I saw an interview with Kemba Walker. He was smiling. You know, he always smiled, but he was cheesing. Like, yo, it's great over here. Like,
I'm sorry, man. I'm at the Cavalli store, man. I got to talk to you later, man.
How much blame we giving Mitch?
All right. So here's the thing. Here's my honest opinion about Mitch Kupchak, man. And the reason why I am not as hard on Mitch Kupchak as other people are is because before I answer that question, I'm gonna throw you like a little stat real quick. Do you know how many minutes the original starting five have played in the last 2 or 5 years together?
Oh, it's an absurdly low. It's
25 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say
the starting five that was supposed to start this season has played 25 minutes together in the last 2.5 years. What kind of what am I looking for? What kind of continuity can you build like that? And the thing is with Mitch Kupchak, everything that he's done to this point, to me, looked like a good idea at the time. You understand what I'm saying?
That's important.
Like everybody agreed we overpaid Hayward at the time. Everybody knew that. But from a basketball perspective, I say, Hayward really fits with this team from a basketball perspective. We could not foresee him missing that many games. Yeah, I know. Oh, he was injury prone beforehand. We didn't know he was going to miss so many games. We didn't know that we were not going to have the same starting five like ever play together. We didn't know that. Yeah. We didn't know Kai Jones was going to lose his damn mind on Instagram. We didn't know James Bouknight liked alcohol so much.
You did.
I did. Yeah. But the rest of y'all didn't.
You called it.
I did call that. However, a lot of these are unforeseen circumstances. You understand what I'm saying? And I cannot blame a general manager for that, man. I can't. Not to say Mitch Kupchak has been perfect. Let me throw it out there as well. I want to be very clear about that.
So Mitch hasn't been perfect, but his wins have been better than his losses.
And when you say wins, you mean?
I mean, like, for instance, Brandon Miller is a win.
That's a win, right?
Right. And we all hated Mitch for making that pick.
Right.
We hated him so much for we didn't give Jordan the vitriol for that pick.
Right.
So, a miss would be Kai Jones, James Bouknight, a draft that everybody thought was Mitch knocked it out the park that draft.
Getting A+ from USA Today. And right.
Nick Smith Jr. That's a win.
That's a win.
I mean,
that's a win.
He was supposed to be a lottery pick.
Hey, Nick Richards ain't supposed to be starting, but let's not forget this dude was a late second round pick.
That's true. Yeah.
You understand?
So he's got, I think Mitch has done what Jordan paid him to do. Come in, build a good core. That's it. Unfortunately, that core had some issues. Mm-hmm. Miles Bridges likes to fight with his baby mama.
Another unforeseen circumstance.
That's not Mitch's fault. LaMelo Ball cannot stay healthy.
Another unforeseen circumstance, right?
Mark Williams got back
issues. A way unforeseen circumstance,
right? The only real miss Mitch has had is not really getting us a capable backup point guard, though he did at one point. And then I still don't understand why they didn't bring.
And oddly enough, we to this day we cannot explain why Dennis Smith Jr. is not on this team.
Not re-signing Kelly Oubre, I think, was a miss.
Another head scratcher. But I think Kelly Oubre not being here had more to do with Brandon Miller. I agree. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, when a team is not doing well, you have to look at your GM. I mean, you have to.
Of course.
And are the Hornets better now in the Mitch era than they were under the Cho era?
On paper, absolutely.
Let's keep it a buck.
Now, here's I'm gonna play devil's advocate because here's what somebody's gonna throw at you.
They made the playoffs.
Right?
Twice.
Right? Made the playoffs twice, right? Yep. And with the Al Jefferson, the Courtney Lee, blah blah blah. But like I know, it's obvious. It wasn't sustainable. It wasn't sustainable.
The Hornets team now, healthy. Are they better than those teams that made the playoffs?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Easily. A healthy team? Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You try to tell me LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Mark Williams, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges, they steamrolled that Kemba Walker, Al Jefferson team. That's not even... I agree. Yeah. So, we got to give Mitch some credit for that, right?
But, okay, so here's devil's advocate again, because I think what Mitch gets criticized for by fans is what he doesn't do.
What, make a bunch of random
pretty much
2K moves?
That's what he gets criticized for. The narrative that always comes up when it comes to the Hornets these days is, well, look at OKC, look at Minnesota, look at people throwing the Pacers sometimes, which is, I don't understand that one, but whatever. Look at the Rockets. Look at look at Orlando. Look at all these teams that have passed us. My counter argument to that is pretty simple. None of those teams has faced the unforeseen circumstances that we just named like we have. It's that simple.
Hornets are still, I need to check this stat again, and I'm sure it might be worse. The last 3 seasons, third most games missed due to injury. Every the last 3 seasons, number 3. The only 2 teams worse are Detroit and Memphis, and they suck too.
Exactly.
So,
right.
Clearly, there's some correlation there.
Hello.
Your key players miss a lot of, and I know people will. I hear this argument a lot. Well, X team has injuries. I don't think y'all understand the sheer amount of games missed in total by Charlotte Hornets players, by key players.
Not scrubs.
Particularly like our best players.
Yeah, these are not – this ain't JT Thor missing games.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. This ain't Bryce McGowan's missing games.
This is not Duncan Robinson miss. Oh, no. This is like, imagine if Jimmy Butler didn't play 50 games this season, the Heat would be trash. They'd suck, right? So, Melo Ball misses a bunch of games. Miles Bridges missed games, although his wasn't because of injury.
Wasn't playing either way.
But he wasn't playing. Yeah, we're just cursed.
It just feels like, sometimes the Hornets that make good, they do good things, and then they just don't work out. So sometimes things just don't work out, and it's just not working out now. Now, with all this being said, and I think you'll agree here, Kaza, everything we're talking about is probably not even going to matter at the end of the season. You know why? Because ownership may say we're going to clean house anyway, regardless of anything.
I do agree with this. Signing Ish over Dennis Smith Jr. was wild. I don't understand why.
Whoever said that, because I can't see from where I'm sitting at.
Shake and bake.
Yeah, I agree. We can't explain that one.
I don't know.
I don't know about that one. The only thing I'll say, and our brother Rodney said this a while ago, there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that people will never know. Yeah. And that might have been one of them things, man.
I got to think that maybe he...
But I'm sorry to cut you off so much. But according to Dennis Smith Jr., he wanted a bigger role.
Bigger role, right, yeah. You're not going to get that.
Still ain't got it in Brooklyn, but whatever.
But to be fair, he's looking at all the guards on the Hornets roster.
Right.
And, although he had cemented his spot as a backup,
right,
I think he thought he was better.
More minutes.
I mean, you got to think, he's a lottery pick from not even that long ago. He's not even that old.
And not to mention, he knew LaMelo was coming back. So he knew that it's right back to the playing 10, 15 minutes a game.
I still don't understand why you don't get Isaiah Thomas though. I'd rather have him than
Isaiah Thomas actually just signed with the Grizzlies a couple of days ago.
All right.
So there's
good
that.
On him. I liked him when he was a Hornet. So,
I don't get that one either, man. We don't get that one.
Yeah, those are Mitch losses that I can't explain.
Can't explain that one, honestly.
Here's the thing, though. It's hard for me. Mitch Kupchak has forgotten more basketball than I'll ever know, right? He has 10 championship rings. I want to go to Mitch Kupchak's house and see his trophy room. He probably just got a closet with a bunch of shit thrown in because he has so many accolades, right? 10 championship rings is dumb between being a player and an executive, right? So I can't sit here and be like, man, Mitch don't know what he's doing.
Right. I just think it's tough. Here's my all the smoke statement for the day. There are some local entities around Charlotte that sell outrage. They don't sell sensibility. They sell outrage.
Outrage sells, though.
Outrage sells. And look, hey, let me be very fair. I'm not saying that the Panthers deserve every bit of outrage. Let me be very clear about that. But how come we just can't be sensible? How come fans can't acknowledge, man, damn, sometimes things just don't work out either, man. And I feel more about that way about the Hornets than I do the Panthers. Like, things just don't work out sometimes. And I don't feel the need to be outraged about that as much. Again, I offer no excuses for what happened Friday night. Let me be very clear about that. When the Hornets play like that, they deserve every bit of outrage coming their way. You understand what I'm saying? But that's an outlier.
Someone has said, and this is pretty good. Cliff has done a good job considering, but what do we do from a coaching perspective next season?
That's okay. I'm gonna go back to what I said. I kind of feel like it doesn't matter going into next season. Ownership is probably just going to make sweeping changes. It's not all this discussion we're doing about coach, GM, all this stuff.
Mike Budenholzer doesn't have a job. You got 2-time coach of the year, won a championship.
He had a lot of criticisms from Bucks fans last year, though.
But that's how fans are, though.
Yeah, true.
This guy brought y'all a championship. The Bucks probably won't ever win another chip. I don't care how many years they have Giannis.
Right.
The Eastern Conference is getting that much stronger,
no
right?
doubt.
Look what he did for the Atlanta Hawks. In an era where LeBron James dominated,
Not to mention, one of our owners has Atlanta Hawks ties.
I'm just saying, Mike Budenholzer is out there. He wants a job.
He'll take this job.
I think he would take this job.
I think he would.
He gets to coach another superstar, LaMelo Ball. He's got his core roster.
Yeah.
He coaches defensive principles.
Yeah.
I think he's a good fit for this team. Who else you gonna hire? First of all,
well, you definitely ain't calling Kenny Atkinson again.
Nope, don't. Yeah, don't call him.
Yeah, X that out.
Don't call James Borrego.
Don't Borrego, man, please.
I think, and that's the kind of guy you gotta go for. A guy like Mike Budenholzer.
Yeah.
He makes a big PR splash.
Right.
Looks like the Hornets are trying to do some
shit.
It
brings credibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, new owner's doing what Jordan would. That's gonna be.
Yeah, you already know that's coming.
But Jordan don't care because he's still making money.
He's still making money off the team. So.
I don't think Cliff's back. I think Mitch.
You know what I'm gonna throw out here? I don't think Cliff wants to come back. No. I don't think.
I know Perla didn't just say Doc Rivers. At least he didn't say Mark Jackson.
All right, let's talk about Doc Rivers real quick. Let's go here. Let's go here.
I've never seen. Okay, there are a few people I've seen ride a championship longer than Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers is the Lauryn Hill of the NBA.
Yes, he's like
he had the one shining moment, and he ain't never let it go.
He's like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers won a championship last decade,
and still riding that
forever. He won in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay won.
Right.
That was a long ass time ago.
Yeah. Pilar, let me seriously answer this question, man.
Like Joe Flacco.
Joe. Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, when did Joe Flacco win a Super Bowl? That was
God, old,
09 maybe?
09, something like that. But here's my criticism with Doc Rivers in all seriousness, man. Doc Rivers has had some loaded teams, man. I'm talking about some really talented teams.
Why didn't the Clippers win the chip?
But that's what I'm saying, man. Not just the Clippers team, them Philly teams were loaded, man. And you let a team like Toronto beat you, who had no business beating you. You understand what I'm saying? And the Doc, and what the Twitter joke out there is Game 7 Doc lost every important Game 7.
That's true, yeah.
So as far as that's how that relates to the Hornets, my thing is, this is kind of a simple-minded thought, but I'll throw it out here. Dude, if you can't win with those teams, what you gonna do with the Hornets?
You know, if they were to hire Doc Rivers and the Hornets are trash, then it becomes same old Hornets.
Right.
Look, they made a bet. We knew they shouldn't have hired Doc Rivers.
But with all that being said, we're talking negatively about Doc Rivers, but at the same time, he probably feels like he's above this job as well. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying?
Mike Budenholzer does not have a job. Call this man.
Kaz is on the Bud train.
I think, first of all, I think the Milwaukee Bucks made a terrible decision in firing him. I don't understand a season after you win the championship. What? That's a Charlotte Hornets move.
No. It wasn't after. Remember, they got bounced in the first. They
won the chip.
Right.
The chip. Then the next season they lost.
Miami bounced them in the first round,
and then they fired him.
Right.
What?
Hey man, look. Hey.
He won Coach of the Year 2 years before that, and you're like,
that sounds familiar, don't it? Maybe
not. That sounds like some Charlotte shit. Chris says Doc will be fine because we're not making no Game 7s. That's true.
Funny but true.
Doc is the Chris Paul of coaches. God,
I couldn't have said it better. Couldn't have said it better.
At least Doc got a chip.
I got a chip.
What Chris Paul got?
Yeah. Chris, it's time. It's time.
It's over.
Chris Paul, it's time, bro.
Stop bullying the NBA.
It's time, man.
Hey, you can come on home.
Come on home, man.
The only leeway I ever gave Chris Paul is that he's a North Carolinian. You know what I'm saying? I'll follow his career since he was in high school. Ever since he scored the 61 points and he missed the free throw on purpose to honor his grandfather. I was like, wow, this kid's gonna be. And then he ended up being an asshole
at Wake Forest.
Yeah, at
Wake Forest, dudes and nuts.
Took that into the NBA.
Yeah,
just been a jerk his entire career and never won a chip. It's time to come home.
It is time.
We'll embrace you.
We will.
You got know what? You. You can come here, work for the Hornets, and bring that goon mentality with you.
Yeah,
that's what they need.
Yeah. I'll take him as like an assistant or advisor. Absolutely.
Teach LaMelo how to yell at refs and whine about
and get foul calls.
Calls you don't deserve. I'll take that.
Speaking of which, if there were, and look, man, there were almost no positives come from that Friday game, but there's one positive that came out of that. LaMelo was finally getting calls. He went to the line, 16 times?
16 times, yeah.
I don't know what changed. I don't know what Clifford said. I don't know what LaMelo said, but they were finally giving him the benefit of the doubt with the whistle. So hopefully that's something positive that can continue.
Well, because they knew they were going to give the Spurs the Spurs averaged 19 free throws a game.
Yeah.
They had 25, something like that at the half. So they were like, ooh, we got to make it look like, we got to get Wemby these calls. But
speaking of Wemby, if there was no further proof that God hated Charlotte more, we got to see Wemby go off against us, and we got to see CJ Stroud ball out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
while Brandon Miller got injured.
While Brandon Miller got I wish this was a hammer.
I don't. CJ Stroud is a perfect transition to talk about the Panthers. But actually, before we go there, let's give our predictions for
Owen, whatever.
Yeah, Hornets not winning next week. Well, they do play the Spurs again.
Okay, I'm gonna give him that one. I'm gonna give him that one.
And Brandon Miller will probably play because he's a tough dude.
Yeah.
And he's gonna feel like he's got to prove something. Brandon Miller's got that in him.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm gonna give them one win. Yeah, they play Miami tonight. That's a loss. They play New Orleans Wednesday. That's a loss. San Antonio Friday. I'm gonna give them that. Philly on Saturday is definitely a loss.
That's a blowout loss.
Yeah, 1-3 next week.
Same. I'm going 1-3.
We win against San Antonio at home.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. That's a maybe.
But I mean, every game is a maybe because you don't know who the hell is going to play from night to night or not play. So,
So those of you that have watched the NFL playoffs saw CJ Stroud look like a pro. Look like he'd been in the NFL forever.
Yep.
Just for all his life.
Looked very comfortable last night.
That wide receiver just running wide open.
Wide open.
Just all up.
And then if they wasn't wide open, he had like 2 whole seconds to throw the ball. You know, must be nice, man.
Just a lot of time,
man.
I've got a page up, PFF.
Yep.
Pro Football Focus. You know, very, very
analytical, very organized page.
They are very well respected. They give their final offensive line rankings for the season. First of all, where do you guys think the Panthers fall on that?
I know, yeah. Ask them because you know what I'm going to say. So,
where do you guys think they fall?
Anywhere from 27th to 30th. No way they above 27th. No way.
Carolina Panthers in the season 29th.
Told you.
29th. The only teams worse than them rated were the New York Giants, the New York Jets, and the Tennessee Titans.
All teams that are bad.
Taylor Moton was rated the best offensive line player for the
Carolina like 35-year-old Taylor Moton?
Yep.
Yeah.
He was the highest graded tackle. Actually, this is an absurd stat. He was the highest graded tackle in the league from week 10 to the end of the season. That's pretty insane.
And that just lets you know how much more awful the other 4 are.
10 different Carolina Panthers played snaps at the 2 guard positions. 10.
10.
The only offensive linemen that played all of the possible snaps were Taylor Moton, Bradley Bozeman, and Ike Ekwonu. Where do you think the Houston Texans offensive line?
I'm going to say middle of the pack at least. If I had to guess, I'm going to say 15th.
Yep, right at number 15.
Really? I was right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They ranked 4th in the league in pass blocking efficiency.
Which really matters. Which is really what we're getting at, right?
So if you give a guy the 4th best pass rushing offensive line in the league, how do you think he's going to perform? I don't care if he's a rookie, vet, whatever. How do you think he's going to perform? Pretty well. You give the guy the 29th.
A rookie, by the way.
Yeah.
A rookie.
29th rated pass blocking defense. He's not going to look all that good. That's all really I have to say about it. First of all, let me say I'm actually happy that CJ Stroud, I love seeing a young black quarterback be successful. And I think the league is finally changing. Right. It took Cam Newton, Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham, Steve McNair, Colin Kaepernick. But I think finally we're like, okay.
Right.
The kids can ball. Right. So I'm happy from that standpoint. But the idea that, man, the Panthers missed on that one is weird because what you are telling me is that the Panthers would have been a playoff team with CJ Stroud. Does anybody believe that? Does anybody that thinks the Panthers made the wrong choice think that the Panthers went, not just go to the playoffs, but win a wild card game with CJ Stroud at the quarterback?
Kaiser, we watch this team every week. We don't miss a game. Let me back up. We have seen how dysfunctional this offense has been for the last 4 seasons. Even before Bryce got here, even before Frank Reich got here, even before Thomas Brown got here, we have seen 4 seasons of dysfunction on this offense. It has not changed.
It hasn't changed.
It has not changed.
People are acting like it may be. I think we're all partially to blame for that. Because we always blamed the quarterback. We blamed Sam Darnold. We blamed Baker Mayfield. We blamed Teddy Bridgewater.
because you got these guys on TV telling you, oh, the quarterback is responsible
That's true,
and he's going to get the blame every
even
time.
I was guilty of it. I gave Teddy Bridgewater, although I think I was right in my assessment of Teddy Bridgewater. Where is he today?
Right.
So,
right.
Those guys, I feel like, got too much blame looking at the situation now.
Right.
The team, the offensive line has been horrid
for a long time, man.
For like 8-9 years now.
I'm saying, man.
And then when they make a move to bolster it, drafting Ike Ekwonu was a great pick. Everyone agrees. He hasn't panned out.
Listen, this is no shade to Thomas Brown, man. But we've had guys who, how do I say this, who have had no cachet in the NFL, right? These guys have no equity in this league, right? We've had a bunch of guys like that calling plays for how long now? Who was the last guy? God, who's the guy after Chud? The one everybody hated. You know, the one who was conservative. What was our OC's name? Some of y'all help us out.
Mike. Oh God.
Okay, whoever he was, he had more cachet than these guys that we've had the last 7-8 seasons had. You understand what I'm saying? So with all this dysfunction, with a bad offensive line, with mediocre at best play calling, right? And now with subpar weapons, because DJ Moore ain't here no more. Yep. What do y'all expect? What do you expect?
There is this narrative though that CJ Stroud ain't got no weapons.
What? Oh, time out. Time the hell out.
Mike Shula.
Mike Shula. Time the hell out on that. Tank Dell and Nico Collins. Excuse me. They're bad weapons?
Those aren't weapons, bro. CJ Stroud made them better.
Why is his OC being considered for head coaching jobs?
CJ Stroud made him better. CJ Stroud he's the GOAT. We missed out on the GOAT.
Apparently.
We missed out on
it.
I just don't. I'm not even. It's hard to say because he did play he had a much better season than Bryce Young, right?
Right.
But as we know with the quarterback, there are a lot of mitigating factors in what determines. I mean, Joe Flacco.
Right.
Okay, we were just talking about Joe Flacco.
Right.
Do you think Joe Flacco has that kind of miracle season with the Carolina Panthers? No.
Hell no.
The Cleveland Browns were already a pretty good team, right?
They were 11-5 for a reason.
Right,
man.
yeah. Right. So there are things that can make a quarterback look a lot better than he is. And CJ Stroud.
And we're not even saying it about CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud looks like he's a real deal, okay?
Ethan, thank you. Ian Thomas isn't making that 75-yard run. Thank you. That's all I need to know about. Yeah, they had 2 touchdowns to tight ends. Houston did. Tight ends? What are those?
I'm sorry. What?
Is that a position in the NFL? Carolina Panthers announced completion of virtual interviews at what?
How professional is that? We doing damn Zoom interviews now. Really?
What?
God, boy. Jesus Christ, Tepper, man.
I made my mic or fall out.
You got $100 billion. You can't fly these dudes, boy.
Okay, so they interviewed. Here's what really makes that crazy.
Jesus Christ.
So one of the interviews was the Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken,
who's high on the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they also interviewed Ejiro Evero.
We can dig that.
And Chris Tabor, which formality.
Right.
Aren't they on your coaching staff now? Why are you doing a Zoom interview? To me, if I'm Ejiro Evero, who, by the way, has an interview with the Falcons for their head coaching position, which he'll probably get and take. Why? To me, that just screams, we're not serious about you. We just need to make the Rooney Rule interview. So,
quick side note. How hilarious would it be if Steve Wilkes ends up as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons?
Oh my God!
But go ahead. He had a second interview, by the way. So, what better way? What better way to stick it to the Panthers than to hire Steve Wilkes? Is there a better way to stick it to us?
Now, some of the candidates could be with a playoff team, more time to travel. In the case of Ravens coordinator, that may be true, but Chris Tabor, they on the golf course.
They're at the crib. They in Mooresville.
Yeah, I would think you want to talk face to face to guys that are already in your organization that you are considering for a head coaching position. But that's the thing, they're not considering those guys.
Right.
Is your Rivera, that gets the Rooney Rule interview out of the way. Cool. Mm-hmm. All right, we got our black guy. All right. Chris Tabor, or your interim coach. You did all right. You special teams coach.
Right. You didn't make it any worse.
Right. Yeah. So congratulations. So now why? So So I guess it has to do with the rule, though. Teams can conduct virtual interviews this week only with coaches working for teams that didn't make the playoffs or teams with playoff bye. So maybe they wanted to really hard adhere to that rule. Maybe it's for your own coach.
Did the article mention anything about his wife interviewing these people?
I'm sure she was on the Zoom.
I'm sure she was there, right?
She was, of course. Nicole Tepper runs the Panthers.
Football aficionado Nicole Tepper.
Yeah. Oh, we still need a GM.
Yeah. So one very disappointing thing happened over the weekend as far as the GM search goes, and let me be clear, I don't know if we were ever in the running to get the guy, man, but his name is escaping me right now. Just the GM that was the assistant GM for the 49ers just signed with the Redskins.
Oh, okay.
He was number one on my list as far as GMs to replace Fitterer, but the Commanders they moved very quickly, man. And let me say something. All early signs indicate that the Commanders are not screwing around, dude. They really want to get stuff turned around there, and I think that was the first step into really changing that franchise around, man. And that's the guy I want to do. So kudos to them,
man. Now there was a report that Raiders interim GM Champ Kelly interviewed with the Panthers, and the report is that his interview went, quote, into overtime. Is that the kind of...
No, it's not exciting. Is that if that's your question? I mean, I'm sorry. If that's the question you're going to ask, no, that does not excite me. No.
Yeah.
It's very simple, man. I want a GM who has produced results before. It's that simple. That's all I can go off of, right?
Which is more important, GM or head coach?
I think GM is more important now.
You gotta get the talent,
right?
Get
the talent, man. I think GM is important, man.
I think in football, it's important because you want your GM to hire a head coach,
right?
Or at the very least, you need them to have a near symbiotic relationship, right?
Which is the point I was going to make.
Right. They need to be
on the same page.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think that was the case. I think that's probably been the Panthers' biggest problem in the Tepper era.
Right.
Is that, well, first of all, who was the GM? I know it was Scott Fitterer in name. But I mean, we all know Tepper
had his hands in the cookie jar.
Right, yeah. Tepper was doing what people accused Jordan of doing all those years, right? We know Tepper wasn't shy about stating his influence on the team.
He was on interviews calling Bryce Young the point guard, and we don't need these weapons around him.
How many interviews did you see Scott Fitterer do for the draft?
God, man, one.
Compared to David Tepper.
One.
Right.
Literally, one.
That's been the issue. I don't think there's ever been any kind of chemistry with any of the coaches that have been, except for Matt Rule and David Tepper. Matt Rule had chemistry with the owner, not the GM.
Right.
And that was a major issue.
Right.
Especially considering Matt Rule coming from college where he builds his own teams.
Here's my Captain Obvious statement for the day, man. I hope David Tepper has finally learned his lesson and is saying, look, let me get out the way. Let me hire a GM who that GM can hire his guy. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I hope you learned that last year. You can't just put a bunch of big names on paper and expect it to work. The idea of an all-star coaching staff obviously ain't gonna work if everybody ain't on the same page. Because I forgot who it came from. God, man, I think crap, man. Somebody within the Panthers organization kind of said Bryce had too many people in his ear.
Yes.
Too many different voices in his head.
He had an all-star coaching staff.
But that's the problem with all-star coaching staffers.
Right.
You getting too many voices. You're getting too many different takes.
Think about when Cam Newton was here. I'm not comparing Cam Newton to Bryce Young because Cam Newton was a far more special talent than Bryce Young or even C.J. Stroud. But Cam, his relationship with Ron Rivera, like it was Cam and Ron.
It was Cam and Ron.
There was nobody else.
Bro.
Maybe Hurney is a GM,
right?
And then Cam, obviously, he had a relationship with Jerry Richardson. He spoke very highly of him. But
when it came to football stuff,
it was Cam and Ron.
Absolutely,
that was it.
That was it.
He had his QB coach, but we all saw the relationship that Cam Newton had with Ron Rivera, and I don't think it's any secret that Ron Rivera has not enjoyed the same kind of success elsewhere that he had when Cam Newton was his quarterback.
Right.
We don't. And now poor Bryce Young, he's gonna have his second head coach.
Head coach in 2 years.
We know how that goes with quarterbacks.
Right. Right. You're popular today, man.
I know, right? So, what do you think about Louis Riddick as GM?
I don't think it's a possibility, number one. However,
I like Louis Riddick.
I think he's a very bright football mind.
Yeah.
And I question whether or not, because what I notice, when certain people when people get on TV and you getting that TV money, and you don't have the stress that comes from trying to run a team, it's hard to pry somebody away from TV. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, as far as somebody that I know is a very bright football mind, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. But I just don't think it's a possibility, though.
Yeah. Okay, so it was Hayden Hurst that said that about Bryce, which is to hear a player come out and say –
That lets you know a lot, right? Yeah.
That's man, the Panthers.
But one thing we ain't talking about, man, that's gonna really show itself in the offseason. I know the central discussion is around GM coach right now, man. I gotta go back to something though, man. I gotta go back to how unhappy Brian Burns looked throughout this season.
Yeah,
and how it was confirmed by him. You understand? He basically came out his mouth and said as much. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, he didn't play well.
Worried about injury, worried about the contract. According to his words, right?
I mean, he had other guys on just as bad of a team, although the defense was actually pretty good. But I mean, Derek Brown and Frankie Louvu outplayed him. Right. Louvu's playing for a contract too.
Yeah, true.
And I'll be honest.
That is true.
If the Panthers have to make a decision between Frankie Louvu and Brian Burns,
I'd have a hard time letting Frankie Louvu go. I'd have a hard time saying Louvu, man.
Yep.
I really would. I understand why you may be more invested in the pass rusher. I get that, but at the same time, man, I would lose sleep over that decision.
Especially considering you could have traded him for 2 firsts. Imagine how much better this team would have been. If, let's say, we make the trade for the number 1 pick, but we trade Brian Burns and
get our pick back, basically.
Get our pick back.
Right.
Yep. Whole different outlook.
Yeah, absolutely.
Panthers look like, okay, we might be able to do something next season.
What's ironic about this? So listen, look at guys. This franchise has said, we're not afraid of trading Christian McCaffrey. We're not afraid of trading DJ Moore. No, we're not afraid of letting Hassan Reddick walk. None of that scares us. But let's show hesitance.
Well, because, the 2 most important positions in football, quarterback and defensive end, or pass rusher, more specifically. But, if you got, here, the truth is, and this is, you're not going to be able to replace Brian Burns.
Right. Not even, well, okay. You can attempt to through the draft.
Let's say, okay, let's just say Brian Burns. Okay, he's definitely one of the top 10 pass rushers in the league.
Yeah, I guess
I'll give him that.
Yeah,
maybe close to top 5, maybe more so last season.
I say closer to 10, just because.
But could you find a top 10 pass rusher in the draft.
That's a crapshoot.
Even Brian Burns, I mean, was
that's a crapshoot. That's the question that
you got a top 10 pass rusher on your team.
Yeah, that's
already.
That's a question that's impossible to answer because that's such a crapshoot. You don't really know what you're going to get.
I think the Panthers should franchise tag Brian Burns.
I think that's what's
dangle
going
him
to
back
happen.
out on the trade block next season and try and re-sign Frankie Louvu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Shaq Thompson might be. Should he even come back next season?
I don't think he is.
Shaq Thompson.
He's expendable at this point.
Yeah, Shaq Thompson, he's been on the team for a long time.
Between Gruger Hill, Louvu, and Deion Jones.
Plus, I mean, the Panthers defense
did fine without him.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the Panthers defense wasn't perfect. They had trouble stopping the run, but they have a really good base to build on, I think. Although Jeremy Chin recently made the comment that he was not happy with
another player not happy. Look at that.
Yeah, he wasn't happy with his role on the defense this season, particularly how he was utilized.
Remember what I told you in the beginning of the season about Jeremy Chin? You remember what I said? Remember how I said how the Panthers said they were all excited about Jeremy Chin and we're going to use him everywhere in the field. Jeremy Chin's not going to have a position. We're going to put him all over the field. Remember I said that? Remember? I told y'all that at the beginning of the season. But no, go ahead, man. I interrupt too much, so go ahead.
No, you got a lot of disgruntled players with the Panthers. There are some players who I'm trying to find the article where one of the Panthers defensive players was just kind of like, he hopes the defense can stay together because
J.C. Horn.
Yeah, he
J.C.
felt
Horn.
like they had a Super Bowl caliber defense. Now, I
don't know about Super Bowl.
I don't know about that.
It's pretty damn good.
Said, J.C. Horn hopes Carolina can keep Super Bowl defense together. I don't know about all that. First of all, you got to play J.C. Horn.
Right. Right.
Just saying.
You got to be out there, LaMelo.
LaMelo. But I said that to say that he seemed to be the only player with any real optimism about the defense, or any aspect of the team in general. Brian Burns is unhappy. Jeremy Chin's unhappy.
I'm sure a lot of offensive guys ain't happy.
Yeah, everybody.
Ain't nobody. Bryce ain't happy.
I was waiting for Bryce Young to just say some real shit.
I mean, why not?
He's too nice.
He's too nice.
He's too good of a kid.
Yeah. Give him 3 years.
Remember when Cam Newton was like, y'all a bunch of losers. He called y'all losers, and I'm going to make y'all winners. And everyone cried.
Yeah.
Oh, Cam Newton.
Oh, my God. He's so arrogant.
And then,
he's so arrogant.
What'd he do?
Super Bowl appearance. MVP. Yeah. Hey, before there's, like I said, there's a very quick culture topic we're going to tackle, man. But before we do that, do you have anybody you realistically want and think is going to be the next coach of this team? Any names come out?
The Chargers are interviewing Harbaugh as we speak. The report came out this morning.
Oh, really?
Why don't I see the Carolina Panthers interviewing Jim Harbaugh? He just came off. First of all, the PR would be amazing. Just coming off winning a national championship in college.
Yeah.
We know what he's done in the NFL.
Yep.
Why aren't you just you threw so much money at Matt Rule.
But
you threw so much money at Frank Reich. You think Harbaugh wouldn't I would be like on my knees at his front porch like, "Hey man, look.
I told you.
However much money you want."
Listen, we said last week there would have been an armored truck waiting for Jim Harbaugh when he got off the plane. See that armored truck right there?
Yeah.
That it's about $100 million in there. You want that? You want it? That's what I would have done.
I'll give him however much money he wants to fix this train wreck of a team.
But let me tell you something, y'all. Kaiser, let me tell y'all something. This is my opinion. Harbaugh to the Chargers to me is a foregone conclusion, bro.
Oh yeah.
I think it's already
First
done.
of all, he's already got California ties.
He got California ties. He got Justin Herbert. He has a defense with Nick Bosa, Derwin James, and Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
That's a wrap, bro. That's a wrap on that. Tell you what, man. If it's I don't know why. I'm a little tired today, so I can't. Names are just not coming to me today. But whoever CJ Stroud's offensive coordinator is,
yes,
I'd welcome that guy here. Because I'm looking at their offense and what they're doing. I want that here. That dude reminds me of Chud.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
He likes tight ends.
He likes tight ends.
Like Chud does.
His weapons be wide open. He prioritizes pass blocking. Bring that guy here. And if y'all could give me the name because I'm tired, let me know, man.
Yeah, happy trails, CJ Henderson. I'm sure we won't see.
Yeah. At least we ain't got to say that name next year. There's one positive that came out of this season. Yeah.
I'm sure J.C. Horn don't want him back on this.
Right.
On this defense. Ultimately, whoever is the coach of the Panthers is going to have to be someone that's going to have to work hand in hand with David Tepper, and I don't think that is a recipe for success ever.
Right.
Ever.
Bobby Slowick is the Texas OC name, and I think at some point he will be interviewed here, so I'm kind of rooting for him to be the new coach, man.
Well, before we go to our culture topic, I do want to touch on a comment that was made earlier. Let me find it. I'm gonna play the Jeopardy music.
While Kaza's trying to find that comment, y'all got the who y'all got today? Cowboys or the Packers?
Cowboys. I hate it, but
I do too. I wouldn't bet on it, but I actually think the Packers could win today.
Oh, they could win. Yeah, they could definitely win.
But I'm not betting money on that.
No, yeah, I'm not betting money on that at all. But
I'll just say sometimes it's not about the best team. Sometimes it's about the hot team going into the playoffs. And Green Bay's a little hot.
That's true.
You understand what I'm saying? Green Bay's a little hot right now, man.
If Dallas to lose to a team like Green Bay would just be so on brand for them
and gratifying to me. But yes,
would be great, and the internet would be
broken.
It would. I'd be able to stay in the internet for the next week. Okay, so I can't find the exact comment, but I want to bring this up because this is a bit of a controversial topic, but I want to know what people in the chat think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone made the comment that the NFL should get rid of the Rooney Rule, and it's a racist rule anyway. Now, here's what I'll say about that.
It's a racist rule, really.
Okay?
Racist, really.
When people say things like that, like when the Supreme Court essentially said affirmative action was unconstitutional.
Right.
And people said, well, affirmative action was actually racist. Okay? Because it didn't take into account
because it changes such power structure,
right.
Please. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
I want people, and this is something that I need people got to start understanding in this day and age. Equality is no longer important. Equity,
no doubt,
is important.
Right.
The Rooney Rule exists because for decades and decades, black coaches never got a fair shake because they were black.
It doesn't just come from nowhere.
Right.
Right.
And as a result, it's harder for them to get in the game now because they have to go through the dregs of that. That's the same. It was the same thing as affirmative action. Affirmative action wasn't an attempt to equalize. It was an attempt to equalize through equity.
Right.
Black people had to go through the dregs of Jim Crow and slavery and sharecropping. Jim Crow's not even. My parents went through the Jim Crow era. They were just one generation behind from that. Affirmative action was to give equity. We know it's been unfair for you for this long, so we're gonna make it unfair the other way.
Right.
Now, some people may say that swings the pendulum too hard in the other direction. I actually don't disagree with that. But at the same time, you got to do something. Because if the Rooney Rule didn't exist, and I agree with Chris's take, it doesn't work because owners circumvent it, so it doesn't matter. That's true.
Yeah.
Owners
can't really argue
a way around it.
Right.
Okay, it was Joshua that said the comment. Thank you for Joshua for owning up to that comment. It's essentially he says it's racist because it's just saying African Americans can't get a job. But see, that's the truth of the matter, though.
Josh. That's man. I'm you left me speechless with that comment. But it's true.
But it's both of those things can be true.
Right.
That's the Rooney Rule / affirmative action does say that, but that's the truth. There were owners, and because we don't know most NFL owners personally, we can't speak to whether they're racist or not. But we know, I mean, the Donald Sterling thing opened a lot of people's eyes to the way these billionaire owners think about their players and their subordinates.
Right.
So the NFL had to do something to save face.
Right.
You had all these people saying, "Hey, man, why you got a league with 95% black players but 2 head coaches?
Right.
2 black head coaches or 2 black GMs."
Right.
They had to do something, and
especially when their counterpart, the NBA, didn't have the same problem.
They don't have that problem.
Right.
I just think that I'm not saying the Rooney Rule is the solution, but at the same time, you can't not do anything. You have to do something to force teams' hands into looking at. And if we don't know if the Rooney Rule led to any black coach hirings,
right?
Maybe none, maybe one,
maybe
or two,
did, maybe did
but
not.
If it led to one,
it's better than what it was.
Better than what it was,
yeah,
exactly. Because that's how you get. You know, there was a discussion I had with, I think it was our boy Jonathan JG, and it was specifically about Michael Jordan versus the new Charlotte Hornets owners.
Right.
And he was saying, well, the new owners are probably going to bring in people that aren't like their homies, like Jordan did.
I disagree.
Well,
I disagree.
Maybe
go ahead.
We don't know.
Right.
But to that, I say Hornets fans will disagree with me on this, right? Because the only things that matters to fans are wins
and losses. Right. At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, like every fan. And I'm okay with that. But at the same time, sometimes it's bigger than basketball or bigger than sports. And the Charlotte Hornets had more minorities within
the organization than anybody.
Than any team in the NBA history.
Right.
They had more black people.
So some of these people are our friends.
Yes.
We know people who in that.
More black people in executive positions than any other franchise in the history of the NBA.
Right.
So to that I say, so what if Michael Jordan was hiring his homies? Now these people have built experience. They've got cachet. They've got industry contacts. They've got networking. They can spread that.
And I want to be very clear about something as far as that goes. These people were not making basketball decisions, so I don't want to hear anything about. Oh, that's why we such a bad. No.
But you talking about the guy that brought Bojangles? He's not the reason the Hornets suck.
I just want to make that very clear, man. But yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like something's like the Rooney Rule isn't the way, but
right. But it's what we got.
We gotta do something.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, if you look around the NFL, man, there's still such an imbalance. You know what I mean? Like the numbers don't lie. You can just look around the league and come on, man.
I just feel like I look at Steve Wilkes and I'm like,
why is he? He
got a raw deal in Arizona. He comes back home to Carolina. He gets a raw deal here.
Right.
And then Frank Reich. I'm just saying.
Hey. I'm gonna leave it on this note. Chris Rock once made a joke. He said, one day I want to see the Black Dave Wannstedt of the NFL. Right. I want somebody to lose as much as that dude and keep getting jobs. Marvin Lewis cracked the code. I don't know what that dude did.
Whatever.
Marvin Lewis was the outlier. Yeah. He got, man, I want more Marvin Lewises in the NFL.
Was Tomlin a Rooney Rule hire?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
But for context, the Rooney Rule comes from the Steelers.
Right. That's true.
So, yeah.
Having said all that, hire Jim Harbaugh. Hire him. Hire him.
He ain't got to be black.
I don't care what race Jim Harbaugh is. Hire that man. Right?
Go interrupt that interview right now. And fly him back to Charlotte, please.
Let us find out Jim Harbaugh like 8% black. Rooney Rule interview. Tepper be all over that.
That's hilarious.
Someone get a DNA test on Jim Harbaugh so we can find out for sure.
Harbaugh South African, man. Oh man, we gotta laugh to keep from crying.
Get the
y'all.
Colts, I promise.
Man. Yeah, man. Hey, man. Is Drake hip hop, Casa?
So let me. Mos Def is in my top 5. He's just that good of a rapper.
Mos Def is so good. He has that Dre 3000 complex. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
He's so good. He has nothing else to prove, and he barely raps anymore. Right?
It bored him 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Mos Def dropped 2 classic albums, and then was like,
I don't want to do this anymore.
Black Star, that was a good album. Black on Both Sides, that was it's old a bunch.
All these classics.
Yeah, let me make movies. This is kind of boring. That's Mos Def.
That's Mos Def. Right.
So, having said that, I respect Mos Def's opinion more than I respect most people.
Right.
And Mos Def's era of hip hop is the one that I'm always going to hold near and dear to my heart.
Same.
I cannot agree, however, with the idea that Drake isn't hip hop. Now, he might be a pop star in that he is popular, and some of his music does lean over into pop. Like Hotline Bling was a pop song, right?
I want to say this. You know how people call let me be clear. I'm not comparing Drake to Michael Jackson. Let me be very clear. But you know how people call Michael Jackson the king of pop? But you know at the heart of who Michael really is, he's an R&B guy. He crossed over to pop.
Right.
So I can say the same. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think Drake can rap. He understands the mechanics of rap very well. So on a very technical level, he's a good rapper.
On a technical level, I agree with you. But here's my take on Drake, man. I think Drake is a great actor.
Yes. But see,
you get what I'm saying, though.
But he can act like a rapper.
I think Drake plays a rapper to a T. He deserves a damn Emmy for the way he plays a rapper. But to your point, he can do it on a technical level, because if he was really garbage like Cardi, you know what I'm saying? I'd call him that. But on the technical, I can rap. I know how to put stuff together. I can't hate on him like that.
Right.
But he's an actor. That dude is an actor.
Yeah. But sometimes that's what one of my favorite rappers of all time is Ice Cube.
Mm-hmm.
Ice Cube is a great actor.
He is.
He was not a gangster.
He wasn't a gangster. He went to college.
Yeah, went to private school.
Right.
He didn't grow up in Compton.
Right.
He didn't do none of that.
Right.
But
you'd never know in the 90s.
Never know.
Yep.
I thought for sure he was riding around with an AK in the back of the 6'4". For sure, I thought that was Ice
Who
Cube.
knew that Are We There Yet was a better representation of Ice Cube than whatever, than the NWA Ice Cube.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, plus Drake's parents were musicians, and I think Drake, he understands music as a whole a lot better than most rappers do, and so he chooses not to like shoehorn himself into just making like rap music, and as a result, it doesn't it doesn't sound as pure as some other hip hop, I guess.
Oh, no, I think that's obvious, man. And Kaza, you know me and you, two grumpy old 90s head hip hop dudes. And I think, I don't want to put words in Mos Def's mouth, but I think that's kind of what he was alluding to. Yes. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
hey, JG brings a good point. Tupac was an actor too. Was Tupac hip hop or was he pop?
Come on now. Tupac was definitely hip hop, man. Because with Tupac in particular, here's the thing, man. Tupac comes from a performing arts background. So there's going to be this level of charisma that he had where he could be a chameleon. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
He could be activist rapper. He could be conscious rapper. That's why he was so complex.
Yeah.
However, I think Tupac is definitely hip hop because he comes from the struggle. That's not acting. That man's mom was a crackhead. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. We got a lot of different. It's crazy that Tupac was only 25 when he was killed because we got a lot of versions of Tupac.
That's what I'm getting at.
The Death Row Tupac was different than the Keep Your Head Up
right.
Tupac, which was different than the Digital Underground Tupac. And I think that when he signed with Death Row, he was full blown actor.
Mm-hmm.
Tupac was not. He had the Thug Life tattoo when Me Against the World came out, but he wasn't thugging like Death Row was thugging.
Right.
Like Death Row was like
they was really about
they
that
was
life.
Really killing people.
They was beating down studio engineers. That stuff happened. Right.
Yeah. The Vanilla Ice incident
that happened.
That was real.
That was real. Right.
So Tupac
Suge not in jail for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He was in jail.
Yeah. To bring it back to Drake, we can't say the same. We can't say Drake has all these complexities.
No.
You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And whatever. It may sound like it's just like overly hating toward Drake, and it really ain't. It's just to point out the fact that Drake ain't what you would call a purist by some circumstance. It's just like he has his lane. He's the hip hop pop guy, which is okay. That's fine. It just with purists like me, we come from that backpack era. We come from we come from the hip hop era where everybody was broke and rapping for love.
Yeah, well, I remember when Mos Def was on the Lyricist Lounge CDs. I mean, that was before he got before he was rich and
right. Drake, I'm gonna keep this real simple. Drake is the formulaic version of hip hop.
Okay,
is that fair?
I'll buy that. I would consider Drake hip hop, especially in today's context.
But
because
I'm speaking more in today's context.
Hip hop is pop music nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is, right?
Which we could have a whole another 2-hour discussion about that, but we won't. But yeah.
So Tupac became Bishop from Juice. Yeah, I watched that the other night. I still think Q lost that DJ battle.
He wasn't that good of a DJ.
He wasn't. He wasn't that good. Queen Latifah thought he was cute. That's why he was in the battle.
That's why he was in the battle. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Props Queen Latifah.
I'm still hating on the fact that he had Cindy from En Vogue in that movie.
Yeah, he was wilding in that movie.
He was wilding.
That whole movie is wild. Underrated.
Hood classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, let's talk about Cat Williams real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
So, although this is old news by now, but we all know Cat Williams went on Shannon Sharp show.
Yeah. Wow. Just spilled every bean he had in the book bag. Yeah.
Wild.
Right.
I'm going to say this. Negativity sells.
It does. Drama sells.
Confrontational
stuff sells.
And people, we have to be better in tune with filtering out a lie when it's wrapped in layers of truth.
No doubt.
Okay?
No doubt. I couldn't have said it better.
Because Cat Williams, he told a lot of truths.
Mm-hmm.
But this man also said he ran a sub 340.
He also told us he read
3,000 books
a month,
a year,
whatever.
Someone did the math. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And I saw a video of him getting beat up by a middle school kid. We saw that. That happened, right?
Right.
I saw him swing on a middle schooler and then get taken to the ground and choked out, and they had to pull the kid off him.
Right.
So when you telling me you would have punched Cedric the Entertainer,
Cedric would have slid that dude. Stop it, man. Stop it. Stop. Cedric the Entertainer come from St. Louis.
Yeah,
you hear me? Stop.
So Cedric the Entertainer did steal a joke. He stole that joke.
Right.
But you're not, Cat, you're not built like that. Because we seen. We saw it.
We got the receipts on.
So I like the fact though that he was, spilling the tea on some of these comedian cliques that we knew. But see, we already knew Steve Harvey was that kind of dude.
Right.
We already knew Steve Harvey was kind of a clown. Right. That wasn't.
It's not new news.
Right. Yeah.
For those who've been following. Yeah.
So, and then some of the stuff, like, I don't understand why he's taking shots at Ludacris. He was on a Ludacris song.
Right. That one was weird.
Like, Ludacris's wife is not light-skinned weird face.
I don't
In fact, she's one of the most prominent women's rights activists in the world.
But Kaiser, I'll say this much. Cat Williams knew what he was doing. I think that was very well calculated.
Oh, yeah.
I think Shannon Sharpe knew what he was doing. I think both of them had this all planned out, brother. And hook, line, and sinker. Everybody bit.
Yeah, no. So it's funny because Cat Williams starts the interview by saying, I normally don't have to come on here to promote.
Right. But ultimately you did.
That's what you did.
That's what you did,
right,
though.
Yeah.
Right.
So
right. You can spin it however you want to.
If he drops a Netflix special tomorrow.
Oh, no. He is going out on tour now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He got it. Look, dog. After I watched that interview, why did I see all these Facebook posts?
Well, yeah.
Cat Williams and Charlotte.
Yeah, he will be in Charlotte
right
this month. So
you sold something, bro.
So smart though. They're smart.
Hey, I told you, they knew what they were doing.
That interview is the second most watched interview in YouTube history.
What's the first?
Joe Rogan and some dude who said that UFOs are real.
Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know who is hip hop? Cat Williams is hip hop. That's hip hop.
That's hip hop. Well, it's funny. Like comedy is very. I think we said this before.
Yeah,
comedy
competitive.
Is like hip hop.
It's competitive. Yeah.
Stealing jokes is like stealing rhymes.
Yep.
It's beef. Like, and I'm talking like real.
It's like beat jacking.
Yeah. It's like cats be. I mean, we remember the whole DL Hughley Monique thing.
Yeah.
Like they was fighting over that. It's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
That's I could never be a comedian. I just could not.
I saw a clip the other day where Bernie Mac, rest in peace, Bernie Mac was saying, never do your stuff in front of comedians
because they'll steal it.
They'll steal it.
They will steal it. Yep. Yeah. And Cat Williams' show is already sold out at Bojangles.
How'd that happen? Wow.
Would it have been sold out had he not gone on Club Shay Shay? And by the way, y'all, I love Shannon Sharpe. I know a lot of people feel a certain way about Shannon Sharpe, but like, it's not his fault. Cat Williams came on there.
Why are people blaming Shannon Sharpe? Shannon Sharpe could come on Under Construction anytime he want to, and please throw some criticism this way. Right. You think me and you would give a damn? Please, man.
Like, I don't.
Yeah.
By the way, I did finally watch. Since we're talking interviews, the Cam Newton Charleston White interview.
Yeah.
If y'all don't watch, Cam Newton's YouTube channel is blowing up too. Actually.
Yeah, no doubt.
And his Funky Friday episodes, he always has an interview. He always interviews someone, and normally it's pretty. Cam's not the best interviewer because Cam's Cam.
Yeah.
But with Charleston White on there, they was like, I thought they was gonna start fighting at one point because it's funny. Like,
but
Charleston White is a hood. He's a hood dude.
Oh, he's straight up hood dude.
Straight hood.
However, he ain't stupid.
But yeah, Cam Newton is 6'6", 250 on a bad day.
Charleston White look at me like, you know what?
Because I noticed like Cam Newton would say something confrontational, and Charles White would be like,
he'll back down, bro. Yeah. Maybe you're right, man. I ain't never seen Charleston White do that. You understand what I'm saying? I ain't never seen Charleston White defer to anybody.
Yeah, Charleston White was he knew where to pick his spots in that interview. So
one more little thing before I go. This is real quick, man. I saw a clip today of what's Cameron and Mace's YouTube show.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I saw a clip today where they were talking about something Charles Barkley said.
Charles Barkley in the bar soap dog.
Kaiser, I have not laughed that hard in years. I'm not going to tell y'all what it is. Go find it. It is so funny. I was crying laughing this morning, man. That was hilarious. Anyway, shout outs, closing remarks.
Hopefully y'all have a good, if your job gave you tomorrow off, kudos
to your job.
To that.
Mine did not.
Mine did, which I was really surprised at. Actually, normally don't do shit like that.
Right.
But,
y'all get to watch the 4:30 playoff game and some NBA basketball if you want to. You know.
Yeah. So.
Hey, I'll be at work.
Hornets play here in 2 hours. there was one point in watching the Spurs game. I was like, "What the fuck am I watching this for? Why? Like, why am I? I'm just sitting there with my beer, like,
same. I was wondering. I was like, I could be doing something else right now.
Yeah, so that's probably how I'm gonna feel today after Jimmy Butler. How many points do you think Butler gonna get?
I'm gonna go. Jimmy Butler's gonna only score like 18, but somebody like Duncan Robinson is gonna score like 30.
Their rookie.
Yeah. Vasquez or whatever. Jamie Jaquez.
Yeah,
he's gonna go off today.
He's gonna have especially if Brandon Miller don't play.
Yep. All right. Here's my closing remark for the day. Speaking of that San Antonio Spurs game, I was watching that, Kaza, and I was thinking to myself, man, this is the most disgusting thing I have seen all weekend. I said, there's no way I'm going to see anything worse than what I saw. I said, I can't see anything worse this weekend. I was wrong. Chicago Bulls fans, how y'all going to boo that man?
Oh, my God.
How y'all going to boo him, number one, when he dead? How y'all going to boo him when he got y'all 6 titles? And how are you going to boo this man's widow at the damn game?
She's crying.
She is crying in front of y'all. And y'all are booing the hell out of this. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, the Chicago Bulls had their Ring of Honor ceremony where most people was joined via Zoom and camera, didn't even show up. But Jerry Krause was one of the people that they honored, selectees at the Ring of Honor ceremony. Jerry Krause, former general manager of Chicago Bulls, who infamously broke up the Chicago Bulls dynasty after he got them 6 rings. Right. Let's make that very clear. And Chicago Bulls fans decided to boo this man's widow relentlessly. That is the most disgusting thing I have ever seen in sports. Y'all, that is beyond awful.
It just proves what we all know about sports fans. Sports fans are the worst.
Worst.
Us included. Like, I think what it is Michael Jordan is a god in Chicago.
Right. And he didn't like Krause.
He didn't like
and
Krause.
That was all that they needed to know.
We all watched the documentary.
Right.
And the documentary painted Krause I love that documentary, by the way. But I hate, Krause, he's not here to defend himself, right? And it painted him
as a villain.
Right, to look like the bad guy.
As a villain.
Still, having said that, even let's say you even feel that way about Jerry Krause.
Right.
This man's widow.
Can you respect his widow?
Yes. It's
how that's easy.
I'll just say this, Chicago Bull fans. How many championships y'all got after Jerry Krause?
Zero. None.
You got none.
None.
Not a one.
What is ironic about this is like there was a clip on Twitter. Like I guess somebody posted a live video, right? And you can hear a guy in the background saying, "Krause ain't here. Krause didn't want that smoke. Krause." So the guy obviously doesn't know that Jerry Krause is dead. So you're loud, you're dumb, and you're wrong, which is a triple whammy. Chicago
sounds like a sports fan.
Sounds like a sports fan to me. Chicago, do better. Do better. In all aspects, do better. That is such a representation of that city. Do better.
That's why they haven't had a quarterback worth of shit in almost 40 years.
Karma's a bee, man. I'm gonna get out here and watch the Cowboys hopefully lose, man. That'll make my weekend.
Yeah. Hey, y'all have a great week. Enjoy your day off if you have it. If you don't have the day off, I'm sorry to hear that.
Hey, by the way, as always, thank y'all for coming on, chopping it up with us.
Thank you. Yes,
like,
y'all,
share,
y'all
subscribe.
Are the only reason that
share, subscribe. I'm gonna open up the phone lines next week if y'all want to come and vent or whatever. But thank you.
Go Hornets.
Go Hornets, I guess.